I'm going to put you in the who's been leading the charge on the Druid, Ireneo Kalman Huang.
Yep. Hey, what's up? It's a pleasure to be here and finally get to talk about the Druid.
Yes.
Been kind of, zip-lipped this whole bloody time, and it's a huge weight off of my chest to actually get to talk about it because, as I'm sure many of you are aware, we can't talk about things until they're actually going out. Don't want to make promises, but it's been eating at me.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty much great. Let's start with a kind of overview of what the Druid is all about. Can you kind of give us a foundation for this?
Okay, so the Druid is going to be bringing heavy healing to Guild Wars 2, unlike anything you've ever seen before. It's going to be a really strong support, and it's going to be really powerful in the new and upcoming raids situations.
Those of you excited for raids, by the way, we are going to be talking about that tomorrow, so don't miss that.
It's not only going to be really useful in raids, but also in potential world v world scenarios, and fractals, dungeons, and most of the content of Heart of Thorns, where there's going to be a lot more pressure on the player that you simply can't dodge to survive. The Berserker meta is not going to just cut it.
You look really, really smug about that. I just want to point out that you look...
Oh yeah. The Berserker meta is something that has been great, fun, but it's not super healthy for the game. And we're kind of pleased that we're actually able to take steps towards greater variety of builds.
All right, well, why don't we go ahead and dive in. I have my cheat sheet because we have a lot to go over, and I'm afraid I'm going to say it wrong. So like we talked about way back when at PAX South, the Druid has a staff, and the staff skills, they're kind of about positioning. You can speak to this better than I can, so I'm like, I know it's support through positioning. Yeah,
so as I mentioned, the Druid's going to be pretty heavy healing, and a lot of that is going to be coming in the form of positional support. The Staff 1 skill, the auto attack, is going to be a beam attack on a target, and it will do damage to the target, of course, but any allies in between you and the target will actually be healed by being in the path of the beam.
All right, so that one's Solar Beam, and we can take a look at that. Those of you who have been watching for a while will notice that the tradition of moose continues.
Indeed.
All right.
We can't really get away from the moose. At least I can't. It's just too much fun to see them prancing around.
Nice.
Yeah, so Solar Beam, the numbers you're seeing there, those are with pretty much no stats, so take that into account. They're going to be more awesome.
No stats, it's okay.
Yeah. And the second skill is going to be Astral Wisp. With this skill, you cast out an Astral Wisp onto the target, and it begins to circle the target, dealing damage initially, but then any allies that it passes through will be healed in the process as well. So this is really useful support for anyone that's in melee.
Nice. All right, and up next, Ancestral Grace is one that I kind of enjoyed. I wasn't entirely good at it. You had a lot of fun watching me screw this up.
Yeah, Ancestral Grace is quite a bit of fun. It's a positioning-based skill. Well, it's a movement-based skill that gets you into position to wherever you want to be. You can use it for escapes, you can use it for closing the gap, and it heals allies at the location where you end up. So this is kind of also a burst because it creates a blast finisher at that locale.
Nice. And the fourth skill on staff is Vine Surge.
Yes, this is the skill that many of you saw during the initial trailer for Heart of Thorns. This fires off a cascade of vines that shoot towards your enemy, doing damage and immobilizing them. And also, any allies, like those moose happen to be in the video, are freed of any movement impairing conditions in the process.
We did make the moose allies for just a little bit, so you are welcome. We felt kind of bad about all the terrible things we were doing to them. All right, and the last one is Sublime Conversion. What does this one do?
So Sublime Conversion is a means of essentially taking any damaging projectiles and negating them, but not using destruction or reflection like we've seen through many other skills in the game. This one actually takes all those projectiles that are coming in during the time and turns them into healing projectiles. So they will continue on towards you, but if they strike you or any allies, it will heal you.
All right, so anything that passes through there is no longer doing damage, it's actually healing you.
Any projectiles, yes. Any projectile that would pass through there, from grenades to rapid shot fire, any missiles from scepter attacks. They all simply become healing pellets that now they're like delicious candy suddenly that you actually want to get behind and nom nom.
I feel like you dropped a ball somewhere by not calling something nom nom. So the thing about this skill that I had asked to Ireneo that I wanted to know about, what about things that are coming from above? And what he explained to me, this is where positioning becomes super, super important, because anything that comes above is not passing through that wall. You're going to need to watch your positioning and get to where it's coming in at an angle, at enough of an angle to still pass through that wall.
Yeah, essentially. I mean, you're not just positioning the wall, but you're also positioning yourself. And any allies that can see this up, it's like, oh, hey, get behind that thing, because that turns something that would be doing damage to you, 100% of it, into instead the opposite. It's amazing.
Nice. All right, so do you want to look at the utility skills? Please say yes, because they're so cool.
All right, yeah, we can do some of the utility skills just for you, Ruby.
Thank you. So these are all glyphs, right? The Druid is going with glyphs on the utility side.
That's right. Glyphs, traditionally this has been one of the mainstays of the Elementalist, where they change forms, and depending upon what form they're in, the glyph does something different. The Druid is also going to have multiple forms now. Rather, an additional form that it can go into, and the glyphs will change depending upon what form you're in.
Nice. Okay, first one is Glyph of Rejuvenation.
Yes. So this is the heal skill. But the Druid is, again, a heavy healing class. The base version of this skill heals you for a lot. And it heals allies in the range, which is a pretty decent range, for less than you get.
All right, so this one, in this form, and we'll talk about the other one later, this form, it's a little selfish, but that's okay.
Yeah. So this is the selfish version of this. This is generally held true for most of the skills.
Yeah. What about Glyph of Alignment? That's what we have up next. What does this one do?
So Glyph of Alignment is a defensive skill as well. But what this does is it applies conditions, cripple, and weakness to any foes in the target area, kind of giving you a chance to escape, mitigating damage, being supporty in the process. And it's a pretty decent wide area application. So you could do things like bust into melee for a moment to break this out, save your allies, and then, throw down a Glyph of Rejuvenation at the same time to, give them a little bit.
So Ireneo was giving me a few tips as we kind of went through this and figured out how things were working, and starting to put some of these together that we've looked at. One thing that you mentioned to me, and I have to look at this again so I don't screw it up, you can use this and then use Ancestral Grace if you're quick enough to get in there and combo.
Yeah, like I just mentioned, you can do... So if your allies are under the gun, you can weaken your enemies, reduce the damage that's incoming, Ancestral Grace right on top of them to give them some healing, splash a Glyph of Rejuvenation. There's a lot of possibilities that you create by using the Glyph of Alignment to give yourselves and allies the opportunity to really recover.
Nice. Okay, Glyph of Equality kind of evens the playing field a little bit if you're hurting.
Yeah, so Glyph of Equality is a daze application. This essentially, again, buys you more time. This also does a mass area interrupt. Can strike up to 5 targets, and most of these glyphs have a radius of at least 300. So you're able to really splash this out. And Glyph of Alignment, I forgot to mention, also does a decent chunk of damage. Same with Glyph of Equality.
All right, I love the next one because I'm kind of bad about, I'll get excited and run in there and then get overwhelmed. He's like, yeah, people like you are why I made this. Glyph of the Tides.
So, Glyph of the Tides. This is an AoE knockback for a 360 radius. So you can really knock back, take out, again, create an opportunity for you and any allies to escape or interrupt potential problems that any enemies are creating. I expect this one will see a fair amount of use in PvP, World v World. These are situations where basically taking someone out of the position they want to be in is really going to give you a role that's very impactful.
Nice. All right, one more. Glyph of Unity. This is one that I'm having a little bit of trouble mastering, but
I'm going to take you back because we actually skipped one.
Oh gosh! See,
Which
this is why I had the cheat sheet.
Glyph of Empowerment.
I am so sorry. Glyph of Empowerment. Apparently, I don't like. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. So Glyph of Empowerment. What that one actually does is it's a damaging support utility. What this does is it boosts all allies near you. The damage that they do for the next 5 or 6 seconds is increased, as well as your own. So this is kind of the time when you want to let people know, hey, I'm about to do this. Break out all your huge damaging abilities and let's really like chunk down a boss.
It's time to hit things.
Yeah, exactly. And now we can move on to the final glyph.
No, forget it. Now I'm mad. It was my own fault. Tell me about Glyph of Unity, Ireneo.
Okay.
I apparently really want to get to that one.
Okay, so the Glyph of Unity is it's your elite skill. It's doing something we haven't really done before. What it does is it tethers you to allies. So in your base form, what this does is any damage that you take during that time gets propagated. You deal damage to all enemies that you have tethered yourself to. So this is like you take 10 strikes, all enemies that you've tethered with this, say it's 3 enemies, say it's 4 enemies, each one of them is taking 10 strikes of damage from you for doing that.
Now, you're still taking it, too. It's not bypassing you.
Right, that's right. So there is the trade-off there, but this is when you want to do things like, throw on that the Glyph of alignment in order to weaken the damage that you're taking, because the damage that you take, you're going to take less of it, and they're going to take the same amount of damage. So you could also do things like, with some of the old skills, rather the core skills for the Ranger, pop a Glyph of Stone, and you're going to take no damage, and every strike that they put on you during that time, they're going to be taken in return.
All right, so these are really, really fun on their own, but they are getting better because we also have, there's an inverse of all of them through, I'll let you do it because it's pretty great.
All right, so I guess we now have to talk about the new class mechanic that's being added to the Druid.
That would be the Celestial Transform.
That's right. So the Celestial Transform is a new mode that you can actually enter using your F5. You build up your astral force using attacking and healing. Healing is going to be far more effective towards doing this. And when you do, you transform into a celestial avatar. You gain a completely new set of weapon skills. Any glyphs that you have equipped turn into the celestial form mode. Becoming slightly better, a little less selfish. So we can go over each of those skills now.
Yes, please. All right. Cosmic Ray is the first one, and what does this one do?
Okay, so Cosmic Ray is your one skill when you're in Celestial Avatar form, and what this does is it's a no cooldown, targeted ground application of just straight up strong healing. So you can essentially really pump out a lot of healing when you're in this mode and support all of your allies who might be, reeling from damage that you were unable to mitigate beforehand. This gives you that opportunity to recover from that.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about Seed of Life a little bit and what that does in general, because we're going to see that more than once.
So Seed of Life is the 2 skill. What this does is it places a blossom that grows in the ground, and when it bursts, it heals allies and cleanses conditions as well.
Nice.
It's very likely that in the near future we're going to add another little bit of functionality to this skill, though we haven't done that just yet. But it's under very close review because it's feeling juicy, but we're trying to give it a little more something to really differentiate it from the first skill.
Well, an Exploding Heal I'm on board with as it is, and I'm happy to hear there's even more coming.
Right.
All right, so Lunar Impact is what we have up. Now I'm double-checking every single time because I'm scared I'm going to skip something again, and they're all pretty great.
Yeah,
all right,
you're doing
Lunar
well now.
Impact. This dazes enemies and heals allies?
That's right. So this is the 3rd skill on your Celestial Avatar form. What this does is it drops a lunar missile on you, dazing enemies and healing allies in the process. It's a pretty strong daze. So this is also something that you can be ready for to hop into Celestial form to, say, break a break bar or something else. Give your allies that opportunity. It's kind of a 2-in-1 that you don't have to use multiple skills for if you're not in Celestial Avatar form to achieve.
Awesome. You know, you mentioned a break bar, and I want to take a second. Going through, as we talked about this, you really had a Heart of Thorns in mind and wanted to make sure it was useful going into the expansion.
Oh, yeah. Heart of Thorns is more vicious, more brutal. You are in a lot more danger just in the open world of Heart of Thorns than you were in the old versions of Tyria. So
it's totally fun danger.
It's fun danger. It means that everything that you're doing, you really need to be strategic. You can't just, again, Zerker meta your way around and completely wreck everything that you run into. You have to be very tactical. You have to be pretty strategic. What you do is really going to affect your allies, and you're really going to be happy when you see a druid coming over the horizon to, pull your bacon out of the fire.
I kind of love the phrasing. So, but that is what I like about this. It's something that is going to rise up to meet the challenges that are coming in Heart of Thorns. So, all right. Tidal Surge is up next, and this is the Celestial version.
Yes. So Tidal Surge is a channeled ability that is a huge heal. It's a constantly pulsing heal for like more than 1,000 per tick. It also creates a water field at your location. So this is something that's really visible. Allies see this. It's time for them to break out all of their finishers and heal everyone to full super fast. This is likely to also get a little something that differentiates it so that it's not just healing, but adds a damaging component of support.
Awesome. And finally, Natural Convergence. This is my runaway skill.
So Natural Convergence, what this does is it immediately starts to cripple and harm enemies in the range.
Like when you start casting?
Yes, that you're still casting. And if it completes, all enemies who are still in that range are immobilized and bled for 5 seconds. So this is a huge potential setup. Again, also another something that can really just completely wreck a break bar. So locking down 5 enemies in an area for all of your allies to simply demolish. Like, you are the enabler in any kind of raid or, dungeon scenario.
Yeah. So, and again, this happens when you start casting. As soon as you begin casting, they are crippled and slowed. So if you work well with those around you, you could really set up some devastating...
Yeah. I mean, this is also hey, there's the potential for counterplay. Your counterplay is get the hell out of there. Because if you don't, you know that you are about to take a real beating.
Yeah, you are now locked down and bleeding?
That's right.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. Yeah, that one's going to hurt if you do it right. But the counterplay of get the hell out there is...
Yeah. I mean, these these abilities need to be used very tactically. You can set things up in order to make sure, oh, hey, look, an ally just locked someone down. This is the time to use that because suddenly they can't potentially escape unless they stun break, pop a lot of stuff in order to get out of there, and they're going to want to.
And stun break really, really fast, too.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Do you want to take a look at the traits and see what all we can do? Because there's a lot of manipulation of all of these skills within the traits. All right. Celestial Being.
Okay, so Celestial Being is your minor 1. That's what gives you access to the Elite Specialization's Celestial Avatar form. So that gives you, the 5 new skills, the access to Glyphs. That's
staff.
Yes, and the staff. That's your baseline functionality there.
All right, and following that, we'll just go right down the line in the order that they are.
Okay.
Druidic Clarity.
All right, so Druidic Clarity, that one, oh gosh. One moment. I've been working on these for so long, sometimes I get muddled.
Condis.
Okay.
You are suffering from confusion.
Oh, no, that has been cleansed away, as I have just entered my Celestial Avatar form. Because what Druidic Clarity does is it removes, when you enter Celestial Avatar form, all conditions on you. So this is, hey look, I can now use Celestial Avatar form to get myself out of any situations that, hey, I'm not liking them.
Awesome. All right, and I can help you if you get confusion again. I'll just cleanse it away and read off my cheat sheet because that's why I have it. Cultivated Synergy.
Yes. Okay, so Cultivated Synergy is it's a supportive healing ability that when you use your heal skill, your ally, or sorry, your pet is your ally.
Pet is totally your ally. It's valid.
That's right. You and your ally, pet, both heal in an area around you. So you can double up with this ability if you and your pet happen to be standing near each other. So you get double the heal there that, one of you would get alone.
All right, Primal Echoes. Now it feels like a trivia show. What does it do?
Okay, so Primal Echoes is your staff skill. What this does is it reduces the recharge on all of your staff skills, and it makes it so that when you swap to staff, you daze all enemies in an area around you. And this also triggers when you are leaving Celestial Form, because leaving Celestial Form, you had that new set of weapon skills. You're now getting your staff back. If you happen to be using it, boom, instantly daze as soon as you leave Celestial Form.
Nice. All right, next minor is Live Vicariously.
Okay, Live Vicariously is your minor 2. What this does is this gives you the support that you would otherwise that you were giving to your allies. By every time you heal an ally, you are also healed. This makes you very, very sustaining and stable because you are outputting a huge amount of healing to your allies if you want to. You start to get low, you can pump out healing to allies, heal them, and you don't have to make that decision between being selfish and being supportive. You can do both at the same time.
Awesome. It makes it really easy to be generous with your heals. Thank you. Let's see. Celestial Shadow.
Okay, Celestial
That's another
Shadow.
runaway one. I love it.
Yeah, Celestial Shadow is another ability that happens based on when you are in Celestial Form. Specifically, when you leave Celestial Form, this applies an AoE super speed and an AoE stealth to you and all allies around you when you leave it. So you can actually choose to leave Celestial Avatar Form early in order to kind of create this chance for you and allies to get where you need to be and mitigate a bunch of damage.
Nice. And Verdant Etching. I'm just going to make up pronunciations now. I'll be over here.
Okay, Verdant Etching is your Glyph skill. It reduces the recharge of your Glyphs, and it also makes it so that every time you cast a Glyph, you plant a seed of life that heals allies and cleanses conditions around that location.
That's that seed earlier that we mentioned, so if you see that popping up, you're going to want to run for it if you're anywhere near.
Yeah, I mean, this really plays into the role of you being supportive and also gives the Druid something that covers the condition weakness that Rangers have often had.
All right, how about Natural Stride?
So, okay, Natural Stride is a movement-based ability. What Natural Stride does is it gives you effectively 33% movement speed increase. That's equivalent to having swiftness on you constantly, so long as you do not have a movement-impairing ability on you. So this is great for getting from place to place, world v world, map moving, just open world travel.
All right, and we are going over to Natural Mender, which again makes it easy to be generous with your healing.
Yes, it does. So Natural Mender increases your outgoing healing. Guess what? When you heal. So if you chain a bunch of healing together in like a really big burst, as you do so, every successive heal, because this is a stacking ability, gets stronger and stronger and stronger, and it stays that way for a good while.
Nice. All right, you want to move on to the last round, and that's Grace of the Land is your next one.
Okay, Grace of the Land is the first of your Grandmaster traits. What this does is it makes it so that every time you enter Celestial Avatar form, incoming condition damage to you and allies is reduced by 1/3. Incoming condition damage is reduced by 1/3. This gives you a huge amount of mitigation and really helps protect your allies when situations where, say, oh, someone forgot to get out of the fire. Yeah, don't be that guy, but in case you are that guy, the Druid can actually save you long enough for you to make up for your mistake.
All right, still don't be that guy.
Yeah, don't be that guy. Don't make the Druid have to go this way. But it's pretty powerful anyway because very frequently you're just going to have a lot of damaging conditions on you, come Heart of Thorns, and this can really give people another opportunity to do what they need to do survive long enough to take down that big baddie who is really messing you up.
Love it. All right, and Lingering Light. This is the one that I'm probably going to go for on my ranger.
Yes. So Lingering Light, what this does is this makes it so that every time you heal an ally, the Astral Wisp, your Staff 2 ability, gets played on that location. So, or on your location. So this kind of makes it so that ranged, unlike how Astral Wisp, it plays that wisp around the enemy that you target, thus helping melee who are in there taking a beating. You can be standing out at range because the staff is a ranged weapon, and any range that happen to be near you can just kind of get nearby. They don't have to stand directly on you, but then they can pick up this healing that you are now outputting passively around your location, and you can actually move around them in order to make it so that it passes through them even more frequently.
And Druid Staff has decent range, too, so it's 1,200?
Yes, it has a pretty hefty range, and this is useful because, again, it's a very positioning-based ability. This gives you a lot more range of movement. You can kind of close to mid-range, you can stay at long range, depending upon where some of the ranged on your team might be.
Yeah, so you can be pretty far out there, and Lingering Light is still going to do its thing.
That's right.
Nice. And Ancient Seeds is the last one.
So, okay.
This is just like this makes it worse and worse for the people you're fighting.
It really does. So what Ancient Seeds does is it actually plays some entangling roots. If you strike an enemy that happens to be dazed or CC'd in some other fashion, like if they're knocked back, if they're stunned, if they're dazed, you hit them while they're in that phase, boom, they're getting entangled for 5 seconds, immobilized, bled. It's going to be pretty painful for them. And so if you happen to, say, daze or knock back several enemies with, Glyph of the Tides maybe, and then you hit a bunch of them with, say, another Glyph or an AoE ability, it's going to hit each and every one of those. It does have an ICD, but if you use a single ability that strikes them all at the same time, all of them are going to be afflicted by this ability, by this trait.
Awesome. All right, so that was our full run-through of the traits.
That's right.
Hope
you're looking forward to it. Some of these things may still change, but that's what we've got for you right now.
Awesome. So while we were going through the skills earlier, you may have noticed a pet you haven't seen before. You were running with a tiger, weren't you?
That's right. There are new pets that will be available in Heart of Thorns. The tiger is only the first among them.
All right, and this is for all rangers, not just the druid.
That's right. So this is kind of the thing that all rangers are getting access to in the Heart of Thorns. They can acquire these new pets. The first among them is the tiger that you saw earlier. The one that you're now seeing is the Smoke Scale. It's a dinosaur that you can tame. And what this dinosaur can do is it can create a smoke field around itself that while it remains in it, it evades constantly and is immune to all conditions. So this makes this a potentially very tanky pet. Enemies will still go after it because it doesn't simply make them untargetable, but you give your pet a good chunk of survivability.
All right, and we're looking at the bristleback now, who's way too cute for the damage he does. I'm sorry, he's adorable.
The bristleback is a very brutal condition-applying little guy. He is a dinosaur, but not of the same family as the smoke scale, so they actually get different family skills. And what the bristleback does is it consistently shoots its spines out at its targets, frequently applying bleeds to them. And its F2 makes it so that its next several attacks apply bleeding with every single strike.
Now, we've been on the receiving end of a couple of these in the Beta Weekend events, so you guys probably know as well as I do how much they hurt. All right, this is the Electric Wyvern?
Yes, so you are getting you're getting baby wyverns in Heart of Thorns. The Electric Wyvern is one of two. This one, they are both members of the same family, and the activate ability for the Wyvern is that it performs a head charge, stunning and knocking up any enemies that happen to be in its path. And there you saw it.
That is fantastic. The blowback with the wings, too. I absolutely love that he does that.
Yes, that's one of its family abilities. And yes, that knocks back enemies on the first actual strike. One other thing I didn't mention is at the end of the electric wyvern's charge, after it's knocked up any enemies that it has struck in the process, it also leaves a lightning field at the end of its charge. So that's another opportunity for you guys to create more play, use finishers there. Yeah.
All right, here's my guy, Fire Wyvern. This is my ranger's new pet.
All right, the Fire Wyvern, it is another wyvern, but this one does something that's pretty awesome.
This is so badass.
This is new tech that we've gotten. Its activate ability sends it into the air, and it, as you just saw, flies around creating a circle of fire that it breathes out, pulsing fire, dealing damage, and leaving a fire field at that location. It's also immune while it's in the air, so enemies that were attacking it, they have no idea what to do other than move on to something else. And if they're caught in that area, say you locked them down with a Glyph of Alignment, or used
Natural Convergence.
That's right. Or you happen to be running with Natural Convergence. They're caught in a fire field taking constant burning, and you can blast that, buff up your might for you and your allies, or apply burning through projectiles, whirl finishers. Yeah, it's pretty bloody potent.
Yeah, so my ranger had her 3rd birthday recently, and this is absolutely going to be her birthday gift from me after hot launches. So, I like this one. All right, so we've seen everything that the Druid has in its bag of tricks.
Not quite. I actually realized that we skipped out a small section. I can run through those really quickly for you, which were what the glyphs do when you're in celestial avatar form.
Please do.
All right, so Glyph of Alignment,
That's
take
right,
it
we're
back.
turning these inside out.
So, Glyph of Rejuvenation, your heal skill. We mentioned early on that each of the glyphs does something different when you're in celestial avatar form. Glyph of Rejuvenation, it's initially a selfish heal. What it does when you go into celestial avatar form is, instead of healing you for like 5,000 or 6,000 and your allies for a few thousand, for 1 or 2, we turn it around. You go into celestial avatar form, you get healed for 1,000 or 2,000, and all allies, up to 5 of them in the area, get healed for 5,000 or 6,000 plus any healing power that you might be running. So that's like the potential for a 5,000 or a 25,000 plus heal.
And a quick note: bear with our increased confusion that we're taking. It is super loud in here, and it's a little harder to focus than normal. So.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Twitchcon. Sorry, Ruby. Did you say something?
No idea.
Yeah. It's a little loud here at our booth. There's a lot of people running around.
Yeah. So what's next up?
Okay. So next up, we've got the Glyph of Alignment. On the flip side, this instead applies useful abilities to your allies. So instead of applying conditions to your enemies, what this does, I'm going to take it back for just a moment.
And this is why I gave you cheat sheets.
Yeah, that's right. Because even I need these for some of the ordering, because we've now gotten a little bit off track.
That's okay.
So
you're allowed.
Yeah. So it kind of does the opposite of, like, each of these glyphs does something very lateral from what the base functionality is. So Glyph of Alignment does damage, cripples your enemies. On the flip side, what it does in Celestial Avatar mode is it heals all your allies and removes conditions from them really quickly. And yeah, it's a very utilitarian skill by doing so, because you kind of get both options.
Yeah, I like that they just kind of turn inside out once you're in there.
It's easy to remember. Oh, look, I can do the one thing, or go into the other mode, do the thing that I need. And so you have to kind of be very situationally aware to what your group needs. And that's not something that you have very frequently paid attention to in Guild Wars 2 up till now, because the content hasn't demanded it of you. Like, if you were applying boons, if you were giving things to your allies, it was kind of, oh, that's a secondary effect. Now it's like, hey, what do my allies need? Oh, something big is about to happen.
Yeah.
I better get ready for that.
Yeah, you need to do it a little bit earlier and prepare very quickly.
Yep, that's right.
So Glyph of Equality?
So Glyph of Equality, what it does, base stance, is dazes and damages enemies in the area. What it does on the other side is it's an AoE stun break, and it heals allies as well. So this will stun break you. You and your allies get a little caught out. You can simply turn that around, give your allies the opportunity to undo the damage that's been done. And things like you'll see that in raids, where a boss might happen to lay the smackdown on you and your allies before you could react. You can really give your allies the chance to get out of that situation.
And let's see, Glyph of Empowerment is the next one in Celestial form.
So Glyph of Empowerment, this plays into, again, the flip side. So it increases the damage that you and your allies deal for like 5-6 seconds. And again, gives them a chance to really go off with their damaging skills. It increases all of their outgoing healing for that same duration. So this tells your allies, okay, look, we got a little low. I may not have very many abilities available to me right now. Here, quick, guys, do the stuff you need to in order to cover for me.
Yeah, and I can help you out on that side too.
Exactly.
And Glyph of the Tides.
So, Glyph of the Tides, it's an area knockback. When you do it in base form, it's an area pull. It draws all enemies in the nearby range straight onto you. Again, a very enabling, hey look, we're going to really set this up for, say I'm already in Celestial form, I pull all those enemies in and immediately start my natural convergence. They have to run that much further to try and get out, otherwise, boom, the hammer's going to come down.
It's going to hurt. And Glyph of Unity, this is the tether one.
Right, so Glyph of Unity, the tether affects all of your enemies, deals damage to them for every time you take damage. Opposite side of it, Glyph of Unity, all allies nearby are tethered, and whenever you are healed, all of your allies you have tethered to are also healed. It's huge. You could potentially just do that and just heal your allies really, really quickly. There's a ton of potential synergy here because you have traits like Live Vicariously. Whenever you heal an ally, you're healed, boom. You and all of your allies have the potential to be full very, very quickly. Huge recovery.
So you've got your staff skills, you have the glyphs, and then you can turn them all around with Celestial form.
That's right.
It's a really extensive skill set.
Yeah. So you're getting quite a bit with the Druid. You're getting 5 weapon skills. You're getting 5 new Celestial Avatar form skills. You're getting 5 glyph skills. You're getting 5 glyph skills on the other side. And you're getting a selection of 12 traits that can modify how you want to play the Druid.
Yeah, just depending on what your preference is. So you still get to play how you want.
That's right. And then on top of that all, you're getting 5 new pets, though all Rangers are getting 5 new pets, not just Druids.
Not just Druids. That was the question I asked, so we're being sure to not let me forget that.
That's right.
All right, well, do you want to put them all together and see how it looks in combat?
Okay, let's take a look.
All right, let's take a look at the fights. So this was a thing that Ireneo was doing and kind of showing me what it can do.
Yep, that's right. So here we're going in on one of the PvP enemies, locking them down, and then immediately, like I mentioned, having your Fire Wyvern go a little bit crazy, placing a tether on them so that any damage that they do, unfortunately this time not too much immediately, they would have been dealing back to themselves, throwing down an Astral Wisp so that you could see, hey, any damage I'd taken, immediately knocked back. Again, right, these abilities are also on pretty decent cooldowns, so you can kind of really lock down your enemy. You'll notice how the Druid is actually staying pretty bloody healthy throughout this whole thing.
Yeah, he's doing really, really well. I can just sit here and watch the Wyvern. I'm really enjoying the new pets. I like their skills.
Yeah, so that's kind of the video that we've got right now. Because of the extensive development that the Druid has been undergoing, and there will still be quite a bit more before Heart of Thorns actually comes out. We only had time to record this one playthrough, but it gives you a sense of what a lot of these skills actually look like when put together, how you can kind of cycle through each of these things in order to keep your enemies off balance and yourself pretty healthy.
You mentioned the Rangers overall, and as we wrap up here, I did want to talk to you about that for just a second, because there are some, I'm sorry, but there are some concerns in the Ranger community about the Ranger as a whole, so yeah, I feel like I'm like, so what do you have to say about that? Oh, but
that is perfectly legitimate, and I have been over the past couple weeks in my spare time, going home at night and reading the forums, I have been listening very closely, and I am hearing a lot of the concerns that the Druid community, or the Ranger community has, hopefully becoming the Druid community, that there are not a lot of niches right now, but we're going to be looking at that a little bit later a little bit later in TwitchCon with some of the balance changes, and that is just a very, very short few updates for the Ranger. Because I've been so swamped working on the Druid, and I will continue to be, there will be more changes coming. So you can anticipate that the core Ranger will be getting several changes to bring it back up into line and balance it with many of the other professions.
Awesome, thank you. And you are going to be a part of the balance preview later on in TwitchCon. So guys, make sure you watch that and see what Ireneo has to say on there. But for now, that is the Druid reveal that we have been waiting for all year. How good does that feel?
It feels amazing because now I can actually say, post in the Ranger forums and talk to you instead of just lurking and reading all of your concerns, because this was stuff I couldn't have talked to you about before. So I'm really looking forward to opening that up with you guys.
All right, so I have a couple of questions. I'm going to ask you to make a few predictions. Surprise.
A few predictions? Please, what kind of predictions are you asking me to make? For the Ranger in general?
No. Now I want to make it harder because you look like you're up for the challenge, but I'll be nice to you. Where do you see the Druid meta going?
So I can see the Druid meta being very strong in World v. World. The Druid is really capable of sustaining, say, the entire Zerg train. You could have 20 or 30 guys facing off against 40 or 50 guys, and you can really put things out to keep your 20 or 30 guys going long enough to kind of wreck the other side. The cascading vines, that's something that affects continuously a bunch of people, locking them in place for your elementalists, your rangers, to smack them down.
Awesome. All right, that is it for us today. Thank you very, very much. I know you were looking forward to this.
It has been an absolute